Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hashtag hosts and the HQFM quiz and bingo software are proud to sponsor the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. With HQFM quiz and bingo software, you can use this interactive quiz software at any venue. All you need is an internet connection. Go to hashtagquiz.co.uk for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to Catherine Vandome and Me. And today I'm joined by a beautiful guest who is a holistic embodiment practitioner, and she works throughout Lancashire in the art of health and well-being. And it gives me great pleasure to bring on to today's show, Sally Fazeli. Hello there, Sally. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm well, thank you. It's good to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
You're very, very welcome. And today, Sally, is a celebration of you. And you have had a very empowering journey. And if you can move your head to the side and show us the word empower behind, I think that surmises you beautifully, because you have been on such a holistic healing journey yourself. And I was so privileged to meet you and go to your workshop recently at the Winter Wellness in Lytham. And that's why I invited you on to today's podcast, because your story is so beautiful and so inspirational. And I think you're going to be able to help a lot of people by sharing your journey and where you've come to this point today. So how does that sound to you, Sally?
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm ready to dive in and share whatever needs to be revealed today. So yeah, let's go.
Fantastic. So basically, Sally, if you can just briefly start by giving us a little bit of your enormous CV that you shared with me last night. It really is pages and pages of these wonderful healing modalities, including emotional freedom techniques, somatic movement, and I would like you to share with us just now a range of these different modalities and therapies and healing opportunities that people can come and link with you, and you can provide for them on their journey ahead. So just brief us a little about that first.
Yeah, so I'm a somatic movement practitioner. So that means that I help people to connect to their body from that internal perspective. So closing their eyes and really deepening their relationship through that internal sense. I went to uni to do dance teaching and choreography, and then that's when the world of somatics opened up for me, which I think we'll go into later in the podcast. And then I'm an EFT tapping practitioner, which means emotional freedom technique, that helps you to release stored energy in the body, to release it, because everything that we go through, whether it be a trauma from our childhood or a limiting belief, a fear, phobia, whatever it is, that can stay trapped in the body if we don't release it energetically. So tapping on our meridian points, as well as acknowledging what we're actually feeling, accepting it, bringing our love and compassion to it, helps to release that stored energy, because we feel safe to do that. And then we can start reprogramming the beliefs that we do want to have. So that's really, really powerful and quite a quick tool to have in your bag for whenever you're feeling a certain thing. I do it in lots of different life situations, from spider phobias to limiting beliefs or trauma, and then I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a Reiki practitioner. I use the essential oils, doTERRA essential oils, to help bring us back into our body and help us to move whatever we're feeling internally and bringing that out into our normal everyday life. So in my yoga practice, it's a lot more somatic based. So it's bringing the unison of body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to close their eyes a lot, to move from that felt sense. So that's where the somatic side comes in. So it's not just doing the asana, the movement practice. It's really delving within and finding that peace, that state of oneness from within and out there. I don't know if any of this is making sense.
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And what you're saying is the embodiment of mind and body, the connection is so strong, and often misguidedly we can think, oh, the mind's over that side to the left and the body's over that side to the right. And what you're saying is that the two work in tandem symbiotically. And once you can heal energies and release traumas, for example, from the mind, then that's going to have a powerful effect on the body. Is that correct?
Yeah. And it's hard not to delve into it properly without sharing more of my story. But a huge part of my healing journey was that I was going to therapy for years to try and understand what was going on in my body and what I was feeling. So I had a comprehension of it, but it still wasn't stopping me from feeling everything that I was feeling. And this feeling wasn't changing. And so it was actually when I brought the felt sensation closing off to the external world and the mind and bringing it back into the body, that my body then started to feel safe enough to release the trauma, all the situations that I was going through. So I believe that there's a place for everything. There's a place for talking therapy, but there's a huge place for embodiment practices that help us to connect to this vessel that we're in, and to not be afraid of feeling anything and to embrace it all, because you have the what's the word, where you can spiritually bypass what you're feeling, because we don't want to feel low, we don't want to feel depressed. But when we welcome all these feelings, because we're human and we are going to feel these feelings from time to time, we bring this essence of wholeness and unity, that nothing should be pushed away, but we embrace everything and love that. And through that love and compassion and acceptance, things just start to change.
That's magical. I think that's beautifully expressed as well, Sally. Really, really beautifully expressed, because you have, I think, a fantastic presenter's approach as well, from when you were actually delivering your talk that I watched, which was extremely powerful and empowering. And so you have expressed that perfectly. And so what you're saying is, I mean, particularly for entertainers like myself, and I think that was a part of your journey as a dancer as well, there can be nerves before going on stage, or there can be stresses, but also just transcending everybody. We all have daily trials and tribulations of which we wish to overcome, even if it's just getting from A to B in the morning in a stressful traffic jam. And I think what you're saying is some of your modalities that all link together so beautifully will help empower each person to take stock of how they respond and react to situations, and also reduce the stress and providing essential healing for the mind and body as well. And on that moment, talking about mind body, I've got a little wriggly tinker here who is on the podcast with me, Sally, and he's got his coat on today because it's been snowing. So do you want to wave to our beautiful mind body expert here?
Hello.
So this is Tinker. And he's 16, and if you can do some healing through the screen for him, he's had a few falls recently, so so we're hoping that you can help support him. So do you want to go down and sit by the fire, and we'll carry on together, Sally? So there you go. So so basically what you're saying is, and I love the way that you've expressed that, is you've got essential oils, you've got emotional freedom technique, you've got somatic movement, and then you've got, what's the circle style that you also provide?
Yeah, I host women's circles and I host ecstatic dances, goddess raves. I say that I'm a conscious raver or ecstatic dance DJ. So that's one of my latest trainings, is doing my DJ training, but I don't do weddings or anything like that. It's very mindful of the the events that I want to create, and they're all conscious events. And when I say conscious, it's alcohol free. We dance barefoot, and we go to receive the high that we can get, the natural high from dance and music. And the women's circles that I do, they're an opportunity where we come together in community with women, and we come in circles. So there's no one above or beneath. We're all sat in that circle environment where we all feel one and the same. It's a place where we can share, where we can open, where we can delve into what is going on in our lives. And I'm really, instead of feeling like the victim mentality, we start to delve in and see everything as a teacher, everything as a growth lesson. So it really helps people to live life in a way that everything is working out for you. We have to go through these lessons. We have to go through these growth parts because we are here to grow. And if we don't go through these challenges, we would just stay the same. And it brings that community feel where we don't feel on our own. So I have women who are just embarking on this self-growth, self-love journey, and then women who have been on this path for a few years, and it just helps bring, that unity together and that togetherness, and also true sisterhood, because I don't know what your past experience has been like, but I've had a few really challenging times in my life where the sisterhood, with friends and things, it's felt very competitive. It's been some of the most traumatic experiences of my life. Receiving not the opposite of what sisterhood should be,
Yes. And so you have obviously embodied that. You've taken a past trauma or a set of traumas that have occurred to you personally, and you have made that into, as you say, this circle. What's it called again? Forgive me. Circle of trust, is it? Or circle?
Well, I call it sister circle or a women's
Sister circle. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the sister circle, I like that. I think that really identifies you. I think that's beautiful and sets you apart. And that's lovely. And so you've had people who have been there on this journey with you, which just shows how great your work is for many years. And then you've got people who are brand new to this, who are starting to join. And of course, you're in Lancashire, which is fantastic. And so people can obviously access what you do from all over the place, which is absolutely brilliant. And as you said, people do travel from quite a long way because you're providing something that's so honest and heartfelt, and that resonates from you through the screen. And I'm sure the audience watching today can feel that as well. And as you say, once you've gone through tipping your own toys out of the pram, I call it, you're then more able, more relaxed, more stable, more balanced, and in a much more calm state to be able to help other people. As they say, put your own mask on first in an aeroplane disaster before you go and help somebody else, and you embody that today. And so with that, Sally, I would like to take you right back, if I may, and what we'd like to do today is take you back, Sally, to your young childhood, and if you'd like to share first of all your parentage and where you were born, and where you went to school, that will start us off.
Yeah, so I was born in Chorley Hospital. That was, well, I'm 37 now, so sharing my age with you all. And yeah, I grew up in Preston, Longton area, which is a lovely little village on the outskirts of Preston. Went to school there, grew up in a Christian environment, going to quite a free, I say a free church because it's a bit more modern with a band and, more clapping.
Yes.
And
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Wasn't an old traditional church. So grew up very much in the church, and there was pros and cons to that. I'm very grateful because my upbringing, my parents were divorced when I was a baby, and I've had it's been a few broken marriages on my upbringing, but my strong kind of hold and my my stability in all that was, for me, knowing that God was always there. And for me, I never saw God as being out there, even though we were taught that kind of God is out there. I always felt that God was in me too, like this loving energy was in me and out there. And I always felt it even more when I used to sing or dance, specifically dancing, when I'd be close my eyes and just go to this place where I'd let almost spirit move through me and out of me. And please interrupt me if I'm talking too
No,
much or where you
it's
need me to.
beautiful. I'll stop you when I feel that the flow is needed, but
That's
this is just
fine.
beautiful. Keep going.
Great. So from a very young age, I went to ballet, tap, all the things, but quite soon after starting those classes, I wanted to quit because I just didn't like the control of it. I didn't like the teacher telling me that's right, that's wrong. I felt really like I wasn't free to express myself fully.
And
So
how old would you be, Sally, going to
do you know
ballet?
what? I was in reception and I
Yeah.
remember not liking the teacher because she was like, point your toes more and do this and stand up and
Yes.
and I just remember saying to my mum that I didn't like it and I didn't want to go. And then I used to then go to party poppers but really what took me from there, I used to spend a lot of time on my own, putting music on in my room or the living room when no one else was there, and just free dancing, just letting my spirit dance.
Yes.
And I even can take myself back to these moments where I just felt so free and dancing with abandon that it was just where I felt at one with everything.
Yeah.
And I've always been a journaler. So from a very young age, I used to journal every night. I don't do it every night now, but I almost like a prayer journal where I'd speak to God and share everything that was going on in my life. So I had these outlets where I used to pray, dance, journal, and when I got to high school, I used to get up early to do an hour of affirmations in the morning before I went to school.
Wow, so
And
you were doing this, Sally, at a young age. These are the modalities I found since I stopped racing around in my life and doing all the
yeah,
distractions of the world. And you're saying that, I mean, that's beautiful. You're saying that you had that sort of balanced mindset, if you like, mind-body mindset, and a release of what I would call traumas onto the journal page. I mean, I find journaling one of the most acutely supportive modalities of healing,
yeah.
and I'm sure you do as well. And so what you're saying is you found these as a youngster, and perhaps if I had, I might not have collapsed. So that's amazing. That's amazing that you found that. Did you have somebody that you knew, that you connected with, perhaps a parent or something, that gave you or suggested these tools, or did you innately find that yourself?
It was through the church. So we used to have pastors coming over from America, and I used to like watching some of these other big preachers and things. And again, I could tell that they were led more by spirit rather than a rule book, if you know
Yeah,
what I mean. And when I say spirit, like God's love,
yeah.
and we might call it universal consciousness, divine love. People call it all sorts, but I believe it's the same thing we're talking about. But because I'm used to calling it God, I call it
Yes.
God, but sometimes I like calling it divine love.
Or higher
Yeah,
state of consciousness for anybody that
yeah,
doesn't believe in certain things that perhaps we might believe,
yeah,
because we're quite spiritual, both of us. It's one would say a higher sense of self, like Eckhart Tolle
yeah.
calls it your higher sense of self. So you were already tapping into, quite literally, your higher sense of self as a youngster, which is profound. I've never heard that before, Sally. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's I used to buy these cassette tapes because CDs weren't even a thing then.
Yeah.
And I used to play them and I can repeat some of them now because they were so created that neural pathway in my brain. Like I'm above and not beneath and going over, not going under. Today is a good day, and we just repeated it. And I don't even know if my parents knew that I was doing it, but I'd set my alarm clock. I get up early, have this hour repeating these affirmations. And yeah, there was no one who actually told me to do it. It's just something that when I heard that there was an opportunity to do this, or you could get these cassette tapes. I just spent my pocket money on things like that, and then got myself up. And so it was, no matter what was going on out there, I found this quietness and this peace from within these moments where I could tap into this. It's almost like a reassurance and this, I want to say assurance, but I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah, no, I think it might be. Yeah,
that everything is going to be okay, and that I'm being looked after, and it's all going to be okay. And yeah, I mean, when I say through the church, there was a lot of also the negative side that I've had to heal since being more on this journey, like the purity culture, the shame of women, and in the dance community, we had to wear 2 sports bras, so our boobs did not move an inch, and we were always taught that you can't do any kind of movements that moved your hips too much or your chest too much. So it was like, it was embraced being a dancer, but then with all this control, because you're
guilt,
in a woman's body.
Shame. Yeah, guilt,
and
fear, and shame.
Yeah, and you can't tempt the men. Instead of saying the men, we're going to spend time with the men, that they train their mind not to see women like that. It was very much the women have to tame themselves.
Yeah.
Which is now a big part of my journey now, where I do goddess raves, ecstatic dances, and I do them just for women. And I'm not against men. I love men. I've got 3 boys. I'm a mama of 3 boys, and I'm raising 3 kings here. So
and a husband, is that right? You also, are you married as well? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love men, but also I want to create this space for women where they feel so free to dance in whatever way feels good in their body, and to feel untamed, to unleash whatever way that they want to move without any connotations, or they're tempting anybody. So I'm very passionate about creating these safe spaces, and what's beautiful about it is that I get women from all faiths coming who wouldn't be able to dance in a space if there were men there as well. So it's such a gift that sometimes the question, should I open it out? And I might do certain sessions doing that, but keeping them all to women at the moment is such a gift to some of these women who wouldn't be able to do it otherwise.
Yes, because there are certain faiths and cultures and backgrounds that, and certainly women in particular, that are perhaps still holding on to trauma, where they don't feel that they could, and therefore they're not going to get out of your sessions what you want them to get out, which is to literally strip back any fear, any guilt, any shame, and be raw and embody the music. And I remember, as you did, studying ballet. I also at 3 didn't like it, apparently, and so I restarted at 9. But my favourite part of that was identical to yourself, and it was, I think, 15 marks of the ballet exam was like somatic dance, where you just dance freely. And my dance teacher said, Cathy may not be the best, but she certainly tries the hardest, which I have written in my book, which is very kind of her. And what she always told me to do was to come out and do that free dance when they played a piece of music. And it's so interesting to hear what you were doing, because that matched identically to the bit that I loved most, because ballet is very constrained, it is very strict, and a lot of your constrictions can come from the rigidity of that frame, etc., holding the stomach in and being slim and all the things that go symbiotically with being a ballet dancer. And what you're saying is the freedom that I enjoyed the most, and you obviously did, was the freedom of expression of dance and being able to move freely to the music the way that our bodies should be able to do. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that. And it's funny that you said that you picked it back up, because when I was 16 I also picked it back up again.
Wow.
Because it felt, when I went on to doing dance at college and things, it was almost like it was the foundation of a lot of different dance practices, and I felt like I needed to have that foundation So I did do it for about a year or two when I went to college, so more as an adult ballet
Oh,
lessons. And
fantastic. Well, let me pause you there and ask a little bit more about that. So,
yeah,
where did you go to college to train, and what dance disciplines did you study?
I went to Newman College and
Okay,
I did contemporary dance.
right, right.
Yeah.
And was
So
that as an
it
A
was
level?
A level, yes. So it was a mixture of performance. Yeah, I love the contemporary style of it, but a lot of the warm up and the foundation of your strength came from doing the ballet practices, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah. Because it's
pointing
the
your toes
hardest form
and
of dance. Yes, Sally, ballet is considered the hardest form of dance. So it should be the pivotal central key to unlocking all the other expressions. But contemporary and ballet, I found when I did a degree in contemporary dance,
yeah,
it wasn't suited to me. I was more of a ballerina because they are quite different. So
yeah.
you obviously have that skill set that I didn't have, which is where I kept looking at the audience and smiling, and I was told to stop contemporary dancing and get on a cruise ship. So I did. So, but you obviously have that beautiful freedom where you don't keep looking at the audience with your eyes and your teeth, where you can just embody it and your more relaxed body. So that's fantastic that you can do that. And I really admire that skill.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and when I got to the end of college, so I loved art and I loved dance. They're the two avenues that I really love to do. And I remember feeling, oh, I wish that I loved science because I almost felt like they weren't as credible. And,
Yes.
like yeah, where am I going to go with a career in dance or art? And it felt like they they weren't the professions that really I should be going in. But my parents never made me feel like that at all. But it was
Good.
just in my head, when you compare yourself to other
Yeah.
peers and some
To
are doing science
academic
and
subjects is what they call, and they are taught that
yeah,
way for us artists, entertainers, expression, people that love to express in different creative modalities. We're almost indoctrinated through our school years, aren't we, that these are lesser subjects, and this seems to be a generic thing on this channel with everybody I've spoken with, that anybody that wants to freely express themselves, it's almost frowned upon, and you need to go through the logical subjects and the academia. And but were you good at English or sports or anything? What's your backdrop there? Because I love English and sports alongside
yeah.
entertainment. Do you love any of those, and did you embrace those subjects in any way,
I did
Sally?
at high school. So I got an A in all my English ones. So they're,
Brilliant.
and the arts and things. So I did like English. Again, it wasn't a subject that I wanted to take on. So I see myself with English. I like to write. I like to write my own poems and things like that. Even though I haven't ever shared anything like that, unless
Well,
it's an
watch this
Instagram
space,
post.
Sally. Watch this space. There may be a book.
Yeah, well, I do see myself writing a book at some point because I've got so much I know inside me and from my life story to share. So I do see that. Um, but yeah, I could never get away from how much dance and art served as this I don't know. I don't know if you felt like this. Obviously, you were a professional dancer as well. I always had this kind of knowing that I wasn't going to be a professional dancer. I wasn't quite at that level to be, on stage in London. And but it was still something that I wanted to do and felt guided to do. But a big thing when I do think back, it was because I wasn't ballet trained that I felt like I wasn't good enough, which is really strange because I know that I said no to it as a young child. And then there's a part of me that I wish that instead of my mum saying, "Oh yeah, that's fine, you don't have to go anymore," that she pushed me to do it. Um, but then it was never supposed to be a part of my journey. I was supposed to find the path that I'm on now, which is, when I went to at the end of my college degree, not degree, A levels, I was in this quandary. Do I go and do art foundation or do I go and do dance? but I couldn't see myself as this professional dancer earning all this money, down in London, because I wasn't ballet trained, even though
So your conditions of worth in our phrase
yeah,
in the
it was
healing
that.
world were so negative, or self-doubt perhaps, that
Yeah.
you stopped yourself from a career in said profession because you didn't feel worthy or qualified enough.
Yeah, so at the end of college, when I was in this also, I must say, I was in a very toxic relationship with a boyfriend at the time. So that
Okay.
also had a huge impact on my time at college, where I was taken away from all my friends, and then just an abusive relationship happened there for a good year. And again, sometimes you're like, why did that happen? But I know that it had to happen for me to understand, working with the women that I work with now, when they're in these similar, toxic relationships, and also how it did serve a purpose for deeper healing within myself. Like you say, the low self-worth that was amplified through this relationship, and how I felt after it. But it actually all came out a year later, after I was at uni.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately we have this self-doubt, this, am I good enough? The other thing that happened was I kept getting a really bad knee. So I knew that I couldn't rely on my physical body. And what happens to me as a dancer if my knee goes? And
Oh.
it, it was like, do I put all my eggs in one basket? And it's interesting how life starts to unfold anyway, because when I was in this question of what do I do next, I'd kind of fallen a little bit out of love with the art, studying it, because again, it's very subjective art. And how do you mark someone else's art? It's
Oh, yes, I
so
totally
hard.
agree. I totally agree. That's the thing. With maths, there's a right and wrong answer.
Yes.
But with creative subjects, I once did a piece called Balloon Metamorphosis in my contemporary dance. And I
Oh,
laugh at myself again in the book by saying that I thought, oh, this is long words. It's very expressionistic. Everyone's passing an invisible balloon to each other, and everybody roared with laughter. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get laughed at, I might as well become a stand-up comedian.
yeah.
so it's kind of, as you say, our own blocks or mental blocks, and also the traumas that we are subjected to consciously, and very often unconscious traumas, that we just think, well, this is the way it is. Everybody's going through this. Everybody has this terrible thing happen to them, and they seem to be able to keep going. But actually, not everybody has perhaps the level of traumas that you perhaps have been through, and myself. And so you can't compare one person with another, but what you can do is say, once you start to have a conscious mind, it really is to do with consciousness. And what I'm hearing from you is you had quite a conscious mindset, an intelligent wisdom, an innate wisdom, Sally, from a young childhood, where you were questioning, well, my knees, I wasn't questioning my joints were popping out and everything's going wrong. I just kept pushing. I was somebody that wasn't, quite literally, as you're teaching us today, wasn't listening to my body. I was pushing beyond the extremities. As a child, I feel that you were already listening to your body and your mind, and you were being guided spiritually, perhaps. So you were uber questioning things, but that's not a bad thing. And I think that's fantastic. You were starting to think, well, you were getting a pull to whether something felt wrong, a felt sense. Very, very rare, I think, Sally, to have that quality in childhood. Very rare. And it's only something, I'm just turned 50, and I found it in the last 10 years of my healing, but very rare to have that wisdom in childhood. So that's incredible. So you already had that spiritual alignment. You were already working on yourself with your journal, with your community, with your church, and you obviously were being pulled in a different direction. So as much as you've been through some traumas as well, you actually, all the traumas are, when we get through them, they become our reason for living and our reason for helping others. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. sometimes you don't realize why you're going through something in the moment, but it all starts to become clear after you're through the darkness of it and the trudge of it. And then you reflect back and you understand why you have to go through it. And I've had so many times in my life. So I went on to making my decision, and I went on to do dance teaching, performance and choreography at UCLan at Preston University. And during that time, and I just want to make a note to thank my mum, because I do remember having a conversation with her and saying, I don't know what to do. I know I'm not going to be this professional dancer. My body doesn't feel like that is the direction. And she just said, do what you love. Just do what. And I said, well, I love dance. But, you know, even though I couldn't see the avenue of where it was going to take me, it was this, go do it. Just go do dance if that's what you feel. So I made this U-turn from doing art foundation to dance. And then I had these beautiful two teachers who were very earthy, more like hippie, you know. So instead of the typical kind of ballet teacher that you might see, they were very, earth mamas, you know, and it felt like they were my spiritual mums at the time. And they opened up the world of somatics. And that's where I didn't even know that it existed. But when they were teaching us about it, and we did all these workshops with it, it was different modules on it in the degree. That's when it was interesting how most of the other students on the course, they thought it was really weird. They didn't like it because you had to close your eyes and move from this internal space. Whereas for me, it just opened up this whole world. Like, this is why I took the course. This is what I'm meant to do. And it was this soul recognition of, this is what I've been doing all my life, but I didn't realize it was this. And now there's like a modality around it. But with that, because I was doing the work on myself, soon after that, I started to develop a eating disorder. And this can happen, isn't it? Can't it? When you start to connect back to your body starts to feel safe. And then it's like the lid comes off and all this stuff starts to come out. At the time as well, when I was a fresher, I met my now husband when I was 18. So we've been together nearly 20 years next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'd been through this really toxic time, broke up with that guy, and it was very toxic and abusive, and then had a little space, and then me and Eamon coincidentally met. And he was this safety net, actually. He really made me feel so safe. And I couldn't understand why that a few months down the line, in that first year of being together, I started having this eating disorder. And it was this clash between bulimia and anorexia. So when I wasn't making myself sick, I was hardly eating, or I'd be going to the gym before spending a whole day dancing or whatever in the studio, doing 10K on the treadmill. So either overexerting myself to the nth degree, doing all the diets, special K diet. Wow, Sally, what place were you in at that time where you went to uni whilst everyone was having sandwiches and I brought cereal in?
And of course, in particular in dance, you are conditioned to be slim. And if you're not slim and you're not analysing your body, which is part of the dance, whether that's contemporary as well, everything's about looking at yourself in the mirror. And if you do that too much, then I'm afraid it becomes a habit. And then the trauma hits you, as you say, and it's, I believe, a trauma coping mechanism. What's your belief? I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think that definitely had a huge part of it, looking at your body all the time, and also just being around other women who are talking about losing weight. And, you know, I love my mum so much, but also through growing up, it was diet after diet. Let's try the cabbage soup diet. Let's try this. And it was just the culture at the time. When you reflect back, the Carol Vorderman diet, and it was just consistent. So we
It
didn't
was.
grow up in a world where it was the done thing to love yourself and accept yourself, and actually what is the healthiest version of you. It
Yes.
was, how can I change and be more like this and more like that? And especially when you get to the dance degree and the spending days in front of the mirror, and there's other women who you know are slimmer than you nitpicking themselves, and then you're thinking, well, I'm bigger than you, so do I need to start nitpicking myself? And and it just gets in your mind,
That is
doesn't it?
exactly it. And the purpose of this channel is that we can share. And when we share, we take a breath, because we realize, as you and I have just shared today, that we weren't alone. And the most likely thing is that everybody in that dance class, or the predominant amount, particularly those that wanted to go into the professional world, were feeling the same. And that's the sort of thing that is so important, that we have grown into today, where today there's a much wider acceptance of lots of shapes and sizes, and that's what's so important. And I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah, and also at the time, for when I was in that stage of my life, it was all about the size 0. So the magazines, there was no really social media just started the first year of my uni degree, so it was still very on the low, but it was all size 0s. I used to buy all the awful magazines, like 4 of them a week, and it was all about just being as skinny as you can, and when you are that size, you're going to be loved and you will love yourself.
Yes.
And that wasn't the case.
False advertising is what you're saying, Sally, and that can still continue today. The catwalk models, all these different, as you say, media outlets, where it's an impossible achievement, because to look like that, unless your natural frame is like that, of which there's only a very small subset in the world, but to actually, for the average human being to look like that, you've got to be unhealthy. And as you say, the dance profession was embodying that as well. And when you've got somebody slimmer than you next to you saying I'm too fat, well, then that's obviously going to have a negative impact on everybody else in the room. And it's very, very sad that that was part and parcel of the world. Now, looking back, as you quite rightly said, it's the chapters and what we've gone through that make us the person we are today. So never look back in dismay. And I'm sure you're going to take me further with that in a minute. Never look back as the victim, as you quite rightly said, and why? Because every why has a reason. And once you unpack it all and realize that certain traumas occurred, certain situations, whatever they were that you went through, many people go through so many different circumstances all the time. That's life, that's part of living. But if you can reframe, I think I hear you say, everything that's happened, and move forwards in a more gentle, balanced way, then you understand how quintessentially important a healthy diet is as part of the mind-body healing. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it took me on a whole journey to actually really embrace true self-love, true self-acceptance, to true just this full love for myself and the skin that I've been born into, this body, and looking after it in a way that honors it, respects it, and also seeing food. And when we say food, I know that some food is labeled as food, even though it's not food, like chocolate.
Yes.
But not labeling it as good or bad, but just really, this is where the somatic parts of it all kind of comes into the journey, because as I started to develop this deeper relationship with myself from this internal perspective, I could really feel into when I was hungry, when I was full, what I really wanted to eat that day, instead of the control of the mind. So I tapped into the body, which actually, I don't know if you have heard this, but the Joe Dispenza talks about this, and Bruce Lipton, but the heart actually communicates to the brain first. We often think it's the thoughts that then create the feeling, but there's the heart's magnetism, which is in the body. So if we bring our awareness of what's happening internally, this actually starts to send signals, and then there's this dialogue happening.
Yes.
And I'll just talk about a moment where I stood in the lobby in the thick of this eating disorder, and I knew I had it. I wasn't in denial. Quite, a few months into it, I opened up to my boyfriend, now husband. I shared it with my mum. And it's funny, I also remember my older brother having a conversation with me, and as you feel their love, but you also feel that they just don't get it. And there was times where I said, you're just going to have to let me go and do what I need to do, like make myself sick, because I'm going to get so angry if I can't do that. And I'm going to turn into almost like this person that I knew I wasn't, but you can't control me. You can't not let me do this because I have to go and do it. I have to come to that place of true healing, and no one else could do it for me. It was my decision. So straight away, I knew at first I thought, do I have something wrong? And then when you're doing it all in secret, you're like, yeah, no, I definitely, there's something going on here. And I think I've got an eating disorder. I was in the lobby at uni and I was on my own, and I looked down and there was this one business card there. And it was this lady's business card who is an eating disorder therapist, specialist. And I just felt this huge nudge. There's just this one there, randomly there.
Wow.
And I rang this number up, and this lady answered, and she spent an hour on the phone to me. And actually, she was a Christian as well. And now I say I'm very free. I don't follow any religion. But at the time, I still was going to church. And this lady also was quite free like me in what she believed. And I remember talking to me, and she prayed with me on the phone. And then I actually then committed to going and seeing her every week for, I think it was over the course of about 2 years I was seeing her. And this is how badly I wanted it. So I used to work 1 day a week when I was at uni on a Saturday. And to go and see her for 2 hours a week, it was £80. So I used to work and pay her the money that I was earning.
Wow.
And I was living in the centre of Preston at the time, and her offices were all over. So sometimes she'd be working from Talton, which is about, I would say about 10 miles. And I didn't have a car, and I used to cycle there in the rain. Just, I just remember it at this, wow, how low can you get, Sally, where you're cycling for an hour and a half to go to therapy, spend all the money that you've just earned on that Saturday to go and pay for therapy. But that's how much I knew I wanted to heal to the core of where this had stemmed from.
Yeah.
And she was amazing, and she was a pivotal part in my healing journey. But I did keep relapsing. So there was months where I thought, I'm healed. I've had 3 months and I haven't done anything. And then it got to 6 months. And then all of a sudden, I'd just go back into it again. And I thought, I can't, why am I here again? Why is it happening? And a really pivotal moment was when I went over to America to do another somatic movement training called Shake Your Soul with a guy called Daniel Levin. And he took us on this whole journey of doing this Soma Soul session where it's like you bring in art and drawing, and then you move from that. And so for me at that point, I was again in the depth of it, and I was just scribbling all this black. And then when I was dancing from that place, it was like I was really self-harming, like I imagine, it sounds really dark, but like daggers into myself, really moving like this. And I just kept going, and then eventually I just fell to the floor and created this small ball when I was on the floor, so I couldn't see anything. It was so dark. And then I was just there, and then the next moment I felt this woman, or this person, put her arms around me like this huge cocoon of love. And it was in that moment that I had this visualization that I thought that I was this dark, ugly, thing. And actually, I was just this caterpillar who needed to go into this chrysalis and feel and receive my own love and acceptance and be truly nourished from the inside out to transform into who I really am.
Yeah.
And it was during these moments where we started to breathe together, and then little by little, my movement started to get bigger and bigger until I grew my wings. And it sounds cheesy, but it was such a powerful moment that I
Wow.
was spreading my wings and I was still moving with my eyes closed, and I turned into this beautiful butterfly. So from going to this self-destruction to this metamorphosis of embracing this beauty from the inside out, but also acknowledging the beauty that everyone can see of who I truly am.
Yes.
And then we had to go back to the art and add to it and draw on it. And I drew this beautiful butterfly over the top of everything. And I put beautiful. And then we had to go round and put I am in front of it and then speak it.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I remember just in that moment having to say these words, I am beautiful, and tears were streaming down my face. And yeah, it was just a huge transformative process where I really embraced my beauty from the inside out, but also, yeah, just acknowledging that we are all beautiful. Our truth is so beautiful, and we are that. And to really fully own it and to breathe that in, to be confident in that beauty. And yeah, so that was a huge part of my journey.
And Sally, how old were you when this happened? Just to share.
So I was 21.
So quite young. I was thinking perhaps more recently. So you were 21 when you took yourself off to America. You'd had some therapy with the lady that sort of brought things to the surface in the actual speaking therapy. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then you
go like CBT, so I understood where my eating disorder had come from. And also, just a note, I also realized that I'd had the eating disorder for a lot longer than I thought, because for a couple of years I was counting the calories I was eating and then trying to burn that many calories at the gym. And that's also a form of bulimia, but it's just that it's got a different name for it. And there's so many realizations that actually I've had this for a long time.
Was there anything in particular that came to the surface that then helped that empowerment, the word behind you, empower, to rise within you, to see that I am beautiful? Was there anything particularly you'd like to share that?
You know what? As much as I love my parents, and I know that I needed to go through what I went through, part of my soul's journey, so there's no blaming or shaming. But a lot of the way that I was brought up into not loving myself, or when you think I was a baby and my dad left our home, so I had abandonment, deep-rooted, I'm not accepted, I'm not lovable, because I was left, and my dad didn't choose me, and all these. But this realization where I had to do a lot of inner child healing work of, back at that time, I remember feeling like a victim, where you're blaming your parents, and it's because of you that I've got this eating disorder. And I was never like that, but it was just this realization that actually, that did have a big impact on me that I didn't realize. But when you're able to move from that place and actually understand that my parents also did the best job that they knew how, and they loved me in the way that they knew how and could, life of 4 children, having 4 children, my mum's got 4 kids. It's busy, and I get that now, being a mum of 3. And my dad also, he felt that that was the right decision for him. But me as a child, we don't have that awareness, and that's must have been what I felt, this abandonment. And I wasn't able to see my dad as much because my mum was breastfeeding me, and I had an older brother and sister, so they would go and see my dad, and I would have to stay with my mum. And obviously that is so needed when you're a baby, to be with the mother if they're breastfeeding and all of that. So I think that, yeah, definitely had a huge part in it all. And you mirror what you see out there, and you can imagine what my mum went through and her level of self-love and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And so this is the knock on. And this is where I believe that in every family, there is at least one, more, I think, are happening now, where we start to realize the patterns that we've taken on that aren't ours. And so we start to have this awareness of, actually, those thoughts were never mine to take on.
Yes.
That's learned behavior.
Yes.
It's now time to unravel, to unleash, to release, and really connect back to this truth of who I am and who my soul is and what my truth is and why I am here and what is it that I believe truly. Who do I know myself to be? But this all starts from having a deeper relationship with yourself. And this is why somatic embodiment, yes, you can know it all in your mind, but are you truly embodied in what you believe? From the inside out.
I can hear that you're on that path of full and complete closure and healing, which is just incredible, because you're able to forgive. And that is what is so beautiful, when you get to the point of realizing that, I always say, what happened to them, whomever is hurting us, for them to do that to us. Because hurt people hurt people.
For me, the transition is fully embodying what you know your truth is. So I am loved, I am fully accepted, I am beautiful just the way I am. How can I embody that? And this is where the somatic side came in. Also, I just want to have another moment just to share that when I was in the deepest depth of feeling so at rock bottom,
yeah,
in the shadow parts of it all, this self-destruction, I can picture where I was walking around the university and just having this conversation with my higher self, with God, and saying, why am I going through this? And it was this clear voice that boomed in my head, Sally, you are going through this because you are going to help other women who have been through this. And until you have been through it fully yourself, you cannot understand.
100%.
But it was also this knowing that I wasn't going to settle until I was 100% healed from this, that I was committed to the healing journey until I was set free from it. So that was my knowing and my understanding. Even though I would still carry on do it, I know that I wasn't going to stop until I was fully free. And when I did that, when I went over to America and then I came back, I thought that was it. I thought I was healed, and I was saying, no, I've had this massive transformative process that has happened, and and then about 6 months later, I started doing it again.
Yeah.
It all started to come back. Yeah. And it was actually that year that I started my master's. So I got a scholarship to do my master's in somatic movement education, connections to the living body. And I then had this year where I was working full time, but I was also doing this course full time. And so I was doing on a regular basis, somatic movement, different somatic practices with different practitioners coming in to the university. And it was that year that set me free. I stopped the talking therapy at this point, and that's all I was doing this body work on myself, closing off the eyes And it doesn't sound like you're doing much. I'm just moving with my eyes closed and maybe bringing a bit of writing into it, a bit of art, expression. They were the modalities, but little by little, I started to fall in love and embrace this human vessel again. And I could feel it more. I was sensitizing myself again, so I wasn't numb. So I could feel when, like I said before, when I was hungry, when I was full. So actually, even if I had a big meal there, if I'd only eaten half of it, I'm actually full. I'm full. I don't need to eat the rest of that. I'm full right now. I might come back to it later, but right now I don't need to eat anymore. Or if one day I fancy chocolate, I'm going to have some chocolate, but that doesn't mean I have to scoff the whole bar. I'm just going to have some chocolate and I'll finish when I feel like I've had enough.
Yes.
You know, and nothing was out of bounds. Everything was a yes if I wanted it. And I'm still like that to this day.
Yeah.
And that is, I was 22 at the time then when I did my master's, now 37, and I haven't relapsed once since then.
Wow.
You know, so that has that whole year created a lasting impression and created all these new neural pathways in my brain in the way I think, but it all came from feeling my body and creating this deeper relationship with myself through the inside out, from the inside out.
That is beautifully expressed, Sally. I think you have just absolutely embodied exactly your healing journey that will massively help so many people. So thank you so much for sharing that as well with us, because as you say, there was multiple circumstances and perhaps other private circumstances as well to you within your journey. And once you, as I said about the flower synopsis, which is my way of expressing it, once you start to peel the petals, as you did, your first petal release, let's say, was in America, you didn't understand why you'd relapsed, but it's because your mind and body needed to be absolutely working in tune with each other. We have body over here and mind over here, and they're not necessarily linked, but you're showing today just how linked they are, because the neural pathways need to be changed. And so once you change those pathways, positive affirmations, all the things you were doing in young childhood where these habits weren't happening, you then brought that back. So you, as they say, you go back to your inner child, your inner wisdom, and you could then express yourself and live free. Would you agree? Would you say there's a sense of peace and freedom now?
Yeah, and then it becomes a new way of being. It becomes, because if you just have this one experience, which from my experience I thought, wow, I'm healed. Well, no, because if you stop then doing that thing that helped you to heal, the other things are going to start to creep in again. So you've got to keep using the tools, the modalities that you know connect you to your higher self until, and I like to say it like this, and you'll probably have a great way of explaining it, but with the way that our brain thinks and creating these neural pathways, you think of a field with long grass. There is a path that's already formed. Lots of people have walked down that path because it's been walked down so many times. And this is the way our brain is I actually want to start having this new relationship with myself, but it takes me to trudge through the long grass to form this new path. And then again, you get another moment where you get to choose, am I going to go back to that old path because it's easy? Or do I keep going on this new path I want to create? And it takes dedication, conscious awareness, until you keep choosing to go down that path until again, that forms a new clear path that is your new way of being. And so this is different for everybody. For me, I find it through meditation. I'm huge on meditation, movement, and I do love being out in nature and things. So there are three things that I love to do that bring me back to my true essence. For other people, it might be running, it might be doing art, or art is another one of mine as well. For whatever it is for anybody, it's that place that when you're doing it, you lose all sense of time or conscious awareness of any life situations that you're in, and you just become so present in the moment. that you're not thinking, you're just being. And
Yes.
whatever that is for anyone who's listening to this, that is more of what you need to do and prioritize it. And I'm speaking to myself here because I haven't been prioritizing my own morning rituals as much, because it's hard to get up when it's dark and very cold.
Yes.
But I know I need to, and I know I want to, but throughout the day and weeks, I am prioritizing myself. I'll go 3 hours here. I'm going to go to that workshop and do art. I'm going to spend an afternoon or an hour dancing in my room, and it's just doing the things that light you up. Yeah.
I think you have explained that beautifully, more so than I could have, Sally. And that is just absolutely the truth. What a lot of people who have different addictions, I personally call eating disorders one of the addictions, because I was falsely told there is no cure. Healing journey, they say, and the wise old owls at the top, the monks and everything, they always say, you're healing, you're on a journey until you draw your last breath.
With anorexia as well, it's probably a bit more noticeable in people as they're losing more and more weight. But with someone who's bulimic, you don't always go as thin as that, and so it can be more hidden. And yeah, that's why it's dangerous until you come to a place where you are aware of it and you take control of your own healing journey.
Yeah.
Because no one else can do it for you, can they? They can tell you all the beautiful things, all the loving things that they think that you want to hear. That isn't going to change anything until you want to make that change yourself.
And it starts with ourselves. So nobody else is going to save us. We often think in any trauma, I'm sure you agree, if I run to somebody's arms, they'll save me. But I think what I'm hearing from you is people can come to you, embody the work that you do, and you serve as the support mechanism, but they do the healing themselves. If you want to explain that more clearly.
Yeah, I struggle with calling myself a healer because I believe it's not my healing power, it's channeled through me, and I create safe space where people feel safe enough that they can heal. But ultimately, they have to do the work. I can give them all the tools, all the different tools to help them understand where it's coming from, or help them to reframe situations. But they have to want to come to that awareness, change their perspective on things. And it's not easy. It's hard delving into these spaces where there hasn't been love there hasn't been light there. It's when we start to really go, oh, there is this there and it's really not nice. But how can we bring our love to that, our compassion, our forgiveness, our awareness to it all? And that is the space that I like to hold, because for people, when you feel safe, that's when your body knows what to do. Our bodies heal ourselves, don't they? The body heals itself. When we cut, it heals itself. We don't have to tell it what to do. So the body knows how to do that. Also, that this is why I love working with the essential oils as well, because they work on a cellular level where they can seep through the cell membrane and heal from within the cell. So I often start my sessions with different essential oils depending on what someone is going through, and that helps us to drop into the emotional body, and then from that place we can either tap into EFT tapping or some somatic movement practices or breathing, meditation. But it all, I've met a lot of people who know how to heal, but they don't bring it into the body, and so nothing really changes. For me, I'm all about embodiment and bringing that in. And through my life, so even after this, I've come up against challenge after challenge after challenge where I know I haven't been listening to what my body is telling me. And it's a constant reminder to come back to, here, Sally, you got that gut feeling, you didn't trust it, you outsourced your power to somebody else or something else. And now you're meeting this situation because it's time to reconnect to your power, to your truth, because that out there isn't really you. You were conforming yourself to be accepted or loved by what you thought was out there. But
Yes.
actually, yeah, situations, even this year, I've been through so many different situations. Doesn't mean when you're on this healing path that nothing happens. It's continual
Yes.
work, isn't it? Like you said,
Well,
till the last breath.
Yes, until our last breath, and that's really important that neither of us are saying, and the other healing guests that I've had on the channel as well, none of us are actually saying we're going to heal you. And I think if anybody goes to somebody that says with that big profound statement that's the case, then I would be mindful of what they're offering, because what I love, and even Dr. Perrin himself says, the patient does the healing.
Yeah.
I facilitate that healing, and that is exactly what you are as well. You're a facilitator of the healing process, and what a multitude of skills. And I'm so pleased and privileged to speak with you today, Sally, to talk about the fact that not only have you personally been through a variant of traumas, but and a family circumstance also, but you also have had a lot, in fact, a wealth of life experience in the dancing world, your professional life, and all these incredible skill sets, somatic, dance. And if you can share with me a little bit about somatics, because my partner, Mark Singleton, he also did the same, I think is it degree course at UCLan that I believe you started on. Did you say 2003? I'm making a guess here. When was it that you did your course?
It was the masters that, yeah, we both did the same one. I did it the first year it launched, which was 2009, because I finished
2009.
my degree in 2008, I think, if I can think out that far.
Fantastic. Well, so basically you haven't just set a business up and decided you want to promote this or promote that. You've actually embodied it. And that's really, I mean, that's what you are, a holistic embodiment practitioner. And so you've lived it. You're clearly an incredible empath, and I think empathy is profound. If you find a healer, and I say a healer, as I say, in the terms of what I'm explaining, if you find somebody that can be a support to you, make sure they're an empath, make sure they really feel those emotions, because those are the people that have actually potentially gone through that path and have come out the other side. And that is beautiful to hear, that you are now helping others. And I really would like to take this opportunity to ask you if you do a little bit of an EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, that I myself have done a little bit of as a taster.
So I'm going to do a generalized session, but if you bring to your awareness what it is that you want to release and move through, then just bring that into your awareness right now. We'll just have this moment connecting to your breath and just marking on a scale of 0 to 10 how intense this feeling is for you right now. How far off from being the highest version of you do you feel? And starting to tap on the side of the hand here, and then repeating after me. Even though I'm not my best self right now,
I'm not my best self right now,
and I feel that there's health things holding me back.
I feel that there's health things holding me back.
There's emotional trauma there.
There's emotional trauma there.
And I've got some fears and beliefs.
And I've got some fears and beliefs
that are getting in the way. In this moment, I choose to completely love and accept myself. Even though I have things that are holding me back right now.
I have
fears and thoughts that don't serve my highest good. I am opening right now to releasing them. because I deeply and completely
because I deeply and completely
love and accept myself.
love and accept myself.
Even though
it
feels like I've got these barriers,
it feels like I've got these barriers
from really embodying my higher self,
my higher self.
I am opening right now
I am opening right now
to feel safe,
to
release
release
and heal
and heal
whatever is in the way
whatever is in the way
of being the best version of me.
of being the best version of me.
Because I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Love and accept myself.
Tapping on the space in between the eyebrows.
Okay.
All these fears.
I
have all these fears.
I have all these fears.
On the side of the eye that hold me back. Constantly. My mind is on overdrive. Underneath the eye. I'm always holding myself back. Whether it's through my own health. My emotions. Traumas that I've been through. I let them hold myself back. Underneath the nose. And I have all these fears and phobias. All these emotions. That I don't actually like to feel. On the chin point. But in this moment. I'm going to choose. To accept them. So on the down from the collarbone, a little bit to the side, there's a little soft bit there. So just tap there.
Yeah.
And I want you to bring to your mind, just think of one thing that has really been holding you back recently, whether it's a health thing, whether it's an emotional thing, a limiting belief, whatever it is, just bring that to your conscious awareness. And say whatever it is, and just say the words, I love you.
I love you.
You are safe to be here.
You are safe to be here.
And I'm wrapping my arms around you.
I am wrapping my arms around you.
Because I love you so much.
Because I love you so much.
And you're allowed to be felt.
And you're allowed to be felt.
And I'm sorry that I've maybe been pushing you away.
And I'm sorry that I've maybe been pushing you away.
The truth is that you are safe to be who you are. And I love and accept you. Just imagine this loving breath, this loving hug, just wrapping around and hugging this limiting belief, this fear, this concern that you may have had, whatever it is that's been holding you back. Just imagine this beautiful hug, just embracing it. And just imagine yourself when you're being hugged and embraced like this with true unconditional love. What happens? Do you try and push it away, or do you start to melt in this love? Do you start to embrace this love? So just imagine this fear, this limiting belief, this health concern just melting into this love, almost becoming one with it. That shadow, that darkness being broken up, and all this loving light energy seeping into every part of it. And really breathing that in. And when we are embraced with this true unconditional love, it too becomes love. Can you feel that release? Just imagine that it's completely turning and transforming into love as well. And just repeating the words, I am love.
I am love.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for teaching me.
Thank you for teaching me.
Thank you for this lesson.
Thank you for this lesson.
for showing me how and where
for showing me how and where
I can love myself even more.
I can love myself even more.
I accept all of who I am.
I accept all of who I am.
And I am free to be me.
And I am free to be me.
On the side here, where if you're a woman, your bra would sit on the side there, the ribs. I am free to be me.
I am free to be me.
And I am free to love all of myself.
And I am free to love all of myself.
And on the crown of the head, and any remnants of this feeling or thought,
and any remnants of this feeling or thought,
I allow to be free.
I allow to be free.
To be fully embraced by love.
To be fully embraced by love.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And just tapping on the side of the hand one last time. Any last little hooks of this feeling?
Any last little hooks of this feeling?
That are maybe still potentially going to hold me back?
That are now potentially going to hold me back?
I release now.
I release now.
It's safe for me to fully let go.
It's safe for me to fully let go.
Because I deeply and completely.
Because I deeply and completely.
Love and accept myself.
Love and accept myself.
I invite you to just close off the eyes, just hold your hands out in front of you. You may be able to feel this energy in your hands. Just breathing, allowing yourself to receive this love. Almost this recalibration of embracing your truth of who you are. As we take a deep breath in, bringing your hands to your heart space and let the touch be a reassuring touch of, I am here. I've got you.
I am here. I've got you.
One last deep breath. And just bringing it back to that scale again from 0 to 10. And just noticing where on the scale that mark is. Hopefully it's reduced a little bit. Maybe it's reduced a lot. And if it stayed the same, that is okay. And what we'd normally do now, so say if I was working with a client, if it was still over 2 or whatever, we'd go back into it and we'd delve in. It's very on a group basis, you're kind of on the periphery, but
Yes.
when I'm working with you, I can really get to know what are the words that you're speaking to yourself and going in that. Yes. And being radically honest. Yes. And it's
so for anybody that's in bed watching today and feeling lost, which a lot of people with chronic health conditions can have those times, I want to inspire and encourage others to follow both myself and Sally in our journeys, because there is always a way forwards, and it is removing old unhelpful conversations in our heads that we all have that tell us we're not worthy, we're not good enough, we're not beautiful enough, we're not slim enough, we don't look whatever the way we want to look, and actually saying, I am beautiful, as you quite rightly said, just as I am here today. So you have to go through that long grass that you described beautifully in order to get to the wonderful other side, where you can dance, sing, be everything you want to be, and be free and live free. So I first of all want to thank you, Sally, for the most beautiful, empowering, healing journey and story that you have shared with me today. What an inspirational lady you are, and deserving of all good things ahead, as you bring to others in your work as well. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, Sally, and come and enjoy this healing journey and share that with you, where can they find you?
I am on social media at Sally Fazeli, and Fazeli is spelt with 1 L. that's on Instagram, Facebook. I'm more of an Instagram girl, so if you message on there, you're very welcome to. And my website is Sally Fazeli. And yeah,
And
thank
that's
you for
Fazeli, just in
yeah,
case. So
yeah,
that's Sally Fazeli, and that's on social media platforms. And do you have a direct link to your website or anything?
yes, it's sallyfazeli.com.
Okay.
And on Facebook, it is Sally Fazeli Wellbeing. Is
Okay.
the Facebook page. Just wanted to make a little note there. If anyone was doing EFT and you were yawning or burps were coming out or anything like that, that is all good. That's the energy releasing. So embrace that. You're not suddenly really tired. That's energy being released. So just allow it to be released in whatever way, even if it's tears, it's all good. It's all shifting.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you've explained that, because this is open now to everybody globally. And I'm sure that you're going to get a lot of people wanting to connect with you, Sally, not just locally, but potentially all over the world. So do you do sessions online as well so that people can connect with you?
Yes, I work with clients online and do different sessions and things. So yeah, either in person or online, all is welcome. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what's your last words of today for anybody who is inspired by your incredible story today, overcoming trauma, overcoming anorexia nervosa and bulimia, and also finding a wealth of healing modalities that have served you so that now you're helping to serve the public? What's your final words today that I'd like to conclude, that if anybody wants to be like you, Sally, and learn from you?
I would say never lose hope. Always have hope in your heart that everything is working out for you and everything is everything is working out for you and it's working for you, everything that is happening. Also have trust that everything is unfolding just as it needs to be. You may not understand it right now, but everything will become clear. And surrender, do your part, but surrender that you are being supported. Open yourself up to this higher guidance. Tap into that intuitive wisdom that you do have. We all have it. And allow yourself to just be in the presence of that, surrendering to these beautiful encounters that you might have. You might have stumbled upon this podcast for the first time and thought, wow, I really needed to hear that. So keep following those little nudges and know that that's this guidance that is happening from your higher self, from God, whoever you believe it in. And yeah, full trust, and always come back to love, because that will guide you forward. Yeah.
Well, beautifully said, beautifully ended today, Sally. And I'm sorry to have to let you go, because I have thoroughly enjoyed today. And thank you so much for coming on to today's show. So
thank you, Cathy. It's been really amazing to talk to you and hear